Taino Stories presents the continuation of 40 years of wars between Tainos and Spaniards. The Catholic monarchs did not have sufficient resources to finance Christopher Columbus's voyage. For that reason, they turned to lendos more powerful than themselves. Among them was Luis de Santangel, a banker of Jewish origin who lent what today would amount to several $1 million. Amic Gabriel Sanchez, also from a Jewish family, and the royal treasurer of the Kingdom of Aragon, who signed as guarantor of the loan, committing the crown of Aragon in case the monarchs failed to pay. Even so, the money was not enough to cover the entire expedition. Christopher Columbus himself contributed an additional amount from his own pocket, and the navigator Martin Alonso Pinzon, one of the three Pinzon brothers, contributed 500,000 maravedis. For their part, the Niño family of Moguer donated the ship La Niña and provided experienced crew, while Juan de la Cosa provided his now the Santa Maria. The Pinzon brothers were one of the most influential and respected families of the port of Palos de la Frontera. Experienced sailors, ship owners, and merchants, they enjoyed great prestige among the local population. Martin Alonso Pinzon was one of the main leaders of the expedition, considered by many sailors to be even more experienced than Columbus himself. The Niño family of Moguer, like the Pinzons in Palos, was one of the most influential seafaring families with the strongest nautical tradition in the Huelva region. Three brothers of the Niño family were present on the 1492 voyage. Juan, Pedro Alonso, and Francisco all embarked on La Niña. There is only one official list of approximately 40 people who took part in Christopher Columbus's first voyage in 1492, distributed among the three ships. This suggests that the port of Palos faced great difficulties in recruiting crew members. At that time, it was common to release prisoners and debtors from jails to make them take part in dangerous voyages like this. In this way, they could repay their debt to society at sea. Thus, the three ships set sail for the Americas with a mixed crew: professional sailors from Palos and Moguer, men appointed by the Crown, and prisoners. The voyage was long, but neither Christopher Columbus nor the captains of the Pinta, Martin Alonso Pinzon, or the Niña, Vicente Yáñez Pinzon, recorded in their notes that they were lost. However, Columbus deliberately recorded less distance traveled in his log to avoid causing fear among the crew. Many of the crew were inexperienced in transatlantic crossings, and at that time, fantastic beliefs about the ocean prevailed, such as the existence of sea serpents, nerids or undines, boiling waters, cliffs in the sea, or islands inhabited by cannibals. During the voyage, the crew was on the verge of mutiny to force a return, but Martin Pinzon calmed them and asked them to wait a little longer. Thus, 3 days later, in the early morning of October 12, 1492, Juan Rodriguez Bermejo sighted land in what today are the Bahamas. Days later, Columbus reached Cuba on October 28, 1492, and on December 5, 1492, he arrived at Hispaniola, present-day Dominican Republic and Haiti. In reality, the Spaniards had no idea where they were. They believed they had sailed around the world and had reached Asia in India. When Columbus first arrived at Hispaniola, he was received by the cacique Guacanagari, who helped him along with his men after the ship Santa Maria ran aground on the coast. With the wood from the ship, they built a small fort which they called Fort Navidad. In that fort, they decided to leave 39 men while Columbus returned to Spain to announce to the monarchs that he had found a new route to the Indies. In March of 1493, Columbus entered the port of Palos de la Frontera and was received with pride and amazement, for that small seafaring town had provided ships, men, and prestige for an expedition that few had believed possible. The sailors from Palos who survived returned tired and sick, but with the glory of having been to unknown lands. In contrast, in the New World, the outcome was different. The 39 men Columbus had left at Fort Navidad were killed, and the fort was reduced to ashes. During his absence, those men had abused the Taino women and stole the cacique's gold. So the cacique Caonabo decided to eliminate them all. He destroyed the fort, and immediately eliminate all the Spaniards. In Spain, the monarchs designed an ambitious economic plan to ensure that the newly discovered lands, rich in gold, would not benefit other world powers, reserving their exploitation for the crown through a strategy of conquest and control. The Catholic Church intended to join the Spanish government in enriching itself with the gold and lands found throughout the Americas by sending Catholic friars to all those regions. In 1493, the Pope divided the world into two parts through the Alexandrine Bulls, and the division was formalized in 1494 with the Treaty of Tordesillas, by which Spain became the owner of most of the Americas, and Portugal obtained control of Africa, Asia, and Brazil. However, not everyone in Europe was Catholic, so they did not care about what the Pope decreed, and also embarked on voyages of conquest and exploration. It was these explorers from other nations that the Church and Spain began to call pirates, because they had no permission from either the Pope or the Spanish government to sail. Pirates were not like those in the movies. In reality, they were expert sailors from other countries that did not belong to Spain or Portugal. The United States and several Caribbean islands were invaded by English mariners, Haiti and French Guiana by French marinos, Curaçao, Aruba, Bonaire, Saint Eustatius, Zaba, and Saint Martin fell into the hands of Dutch mariners, and the Danish Virgin Islands were taken by mariners from Denmark. All were experienced navigators, but they were called pirates because they had no permission from Spain or the Pope. On the contrary, they were highly trained war officers who attempted to conquer Puerto Rico many times during colonial times. Follow us for the continuation of 40 years of war between Tainos and Spaniards in Puerto Rico, because the Tainos are still here and we carry our history.